All right, welcome back, everybody, to Stay Tuned. We are back for another episode. Unfortunately, it's just Brayden and I tonight. Mikey wasn't feeling so great. He's been, doing some new stuff. We were going to cover it a little bit here in this first portion of the new episode. And with that, we were going to be going over some stuff. And the biggest thing was we were going to be doing What's New With You. Bringing it back for now, just because it's been a little bit since we've, talked about what we've been watching lately, what's been going on in our lives, stuff like that. So, for Mikey, we'll kind of start it off for Mikey on What's New With Him. He started a new job this week, so that's why he's pretty tired. So clap it up for him, everybody. So he is tired, and we knew that this week would probably be bad for him, but that's pretty much the newest thing we could share about him. Anything else he'll share later. Mm-hmm. But then what's new with me as to why we couldn't do an episode last week was that I was visiting in Pittsburgh, my grandparents, but then also for this hat, we went to the U.S. Open golf tournament. If you saw on the Instagram, I posted something on there saying that I was there at Oakmont. So I was there for that week. Was there for just a little bit. But other than that, for things that I've been up to, watching Community, the Brayden and Mikey, very big on that. So I'm about halfway through season 2, and there's 6 seasons. Am I right?
Yes. 6 seasons.
And then the best way that I could say it is every episode hits in season 2. Season 1, it gets there.
It's a slow start.
It's a slow start. It's been a while since I've been able to do anything like that because I started episode 1 3 different times, and I never could get into it. And then this time I was like, all right, lock it. But other than that, for movies that I've kind of been into recently, I'm pulling up Letterboxd here. We're going to be talking about a few of them on the podcast here. But I had 2 3-day movies. So on the 11th, I watched Wolves, Upgraded, and Avengers Infinity War. And then just yesterday, I watched John Wick, Hamilton, and How to Train Your Dragon, which we'll be talking about here shortly. So that's pretty much just to round out mine. Brayden and I discussed it. I'm at 64 total movies this year so far. So hopefully I want to get to 100 at least. So Brayden, what's new with you?
Nothing much. I think that 100 is very obtainable. Fact for the viewers, last year I logged 300 movies plus a couple mini-series and 15 seasons of Supernatural for the first time. So chase your dreams. You'll get there one day. I'm still working on How I Met Your Mother. I'm halfway through season 7 out of 9, and they just fly by so fast, so It's a good show to power through. I am currently at 70 movies on the year. I just watched the new Predator movie, the animated one on Hulu, Killer of Killers. It's actually really good. I didn't care for the animation in the trailers, but it's very different in the actual film or the stories, and so I bought into it. My parents showed me this movie from the 90s called Swing Kids with Christian Bale and Robert Sean Leonard, the lead from Dead Poets Society. And it's an interesting story. I'd recommend it if anyone likes those 90s historical drama with a little bit of coming to age in it. And then nothing else recently. It's mostly just been grinding through this show. I've done some more collecting for my physical media. Rogue One and Babylon in 4K arrived at my house today. I got the Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy in both 4K and Blu-ray recently. I got Jaws out of the $5 bin. I'm waiting for July. Everything's going to start dropping in July. That came out in the previous half this year, so the Sinners Steelbook is still pre-ordered. I'm waiting for the final Lord of the Rings Steelbook to be on sale. And then as we recorded this today, Joey and I were at work, and they dropped the physical media Steelbook designed for the Thunderbolts movie. And I was like, I got to get my hands on that, as well as the Ballerina Walmart Steelbook, because that one looks awesome as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's it for What's New With You. Pretty much just a little quick recap what we've been going on with. Of course, Brayden and I have been working, so that, is, of course, always in What's New With You. But this episode is going to be all about summer blockbusters, and mainly just looking at what came right before summer started, or maybe a little bit into the summer, and then going into a little bit of our predictions for the rest of the summer and maybe the rest of the year. So I'm going to start us off with Lilo and Stitch, the not animated. The animated's better, but the live action adaptation that they decided to make. For me, it's a 3 out of 5 stars. It's a 7 out of 10. It's not bad. There's some really good things about it. There are. But I have 3 main problems with it. My first one, there's no Captain Gantu. You pretty much pull out the villain of the story. And so when I heard about that, it made me wonder how the end of this movie was really going to go. Where was that plane chase fight scene? How was that going to be taking place? That was my one question. Got answered in a poor way for me. In that poor way was my second problem with Jumba. First off, Zach Galifianakis, great actor. Not for this. It felt weird. It didn't feel right that he wasn't Russian. And so it just felt really weird to me. Personally, my pick would have been David Harbour for it, out of all things. And so in this case, Thunderbolts and everything else that he's been getting recently was probably a reason why they couldn't do that. But that would have been my pick, hands down. But then in that, you make Jumba the villain, and it really took away everything. Jumba's supposed to stay on Earth and be helping Lilo and Stitch it really ruined it for me. And then the third thing was that some of the stuff they decided to get rid of and some of the things they decided to add were not great decisions, in my opinion. Kind of taking away a lot of the different Stitch things that he does in the home, and then also taking away a lot of the Cobra Bubbles not being the CPS person, and it's the actor that voiced Nani in the past. It just didn't feel right to me, but that's because I give the original a 5 out of 5. So overall, it wasn't bad. If you're gonna go watch anything, you go watch the original, and then you can go watch this if you want. But I will give the flowers to whoever played Lilo and Nani. I forget their names, but they did an amazing job. They both, I think this is their first act, or at least their first pretty big acting roles. They did great, and I will say I do enjoy the ending of Nani going to college. I think that sets up very nicely for some different sequels. I could see it going well. But my review overall for it, I give these little one-liners in Letterboxd, if you don't already know that. And make sure to go follow us on Letterboxd. Those are all in the description, per usual. But my little one-liner to it. If you call this an adaptation of the original story, I would like it way more. But they called it a remake. And then I need a Russian Jumba. So that's all I got. So it wasn't that bad. But
I'll eventually see it when it goes on Disney Plus. We talked about it off screen, and I sent you some stuff. The Captain Gantu thing, the director tried to claim that it didn't work, which makes no sense because this isn't the first movie. This is a remake, so it should. And then I sent you an interview with, I don't remember who it was with, but Zach Galifianakis was basically talking about how this movie was originally filmed during the SAG writer strikes, and how during this time, for those of you who don't know, actors were legally not allowed to improvise anything that wasn't specifically written on the page, which is a very common thing that happens for any and every movie ever made. And so he didn't really address it by pointing fingers, but he sort of straight up said in a nonchalant way, if you don't think a lot of this is funny or it just feels weird, this is why. It was because we were only allowed to do the first draft of what was written, and we were not allowed to throw anything in ourselves, which I feel kind of sucks because this is a Disney movie, and we heard from Ryan Reynolds with Deadpool and Wolverine how he he did something to fund the writers himself or something, so that way, or he wrote the movie with Sean Levy specifically so they could improvise because it was their movie. You would have thought they would have been able to work something out.
I think the biggest thing is just if things like that, I mean, it's been what 2 years now since those strikes, or maybe it was like a
At
year.
least, I think.
It it still has those ripple effects, and so
Mm-hmm.
this is one of those movies that I wouldn't say got hurt a lot by those strikes, but you can definitely, like, after that interview and everything, you could definitely go back and be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, I could see how that would affect this.
Right. Ooh, I lost my train of thought. It made a bunch of money anyway, so it was the highest grossing for an insane amount of time.
Yeah.
After that was Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning, which came out the same weekend. I went to see that. I'm a massive fan of the franchise. It's the greatest action franchise to ever exist in movies, in my opinion. And it did not do great money-wise, specifically because the budget was insane. There was no way that it was going to be a profit anyway, but Tom Cruise doesn't care. He just wants to make us say, good movie. If you like the franchise, you'll enjoy it. It's a bit exposition heavy at the beginning. It's a bit of a long movie, but it has some of the best action and stunt sequences. The instances you see in the trailers of him where he's underwater and he's in the submarine is just a fantastic. It's amazingly shot. The set that they created is unbelievable for it. And I gave it 3.5 just because the story is a part 2 of a movie, but it's also, like I said, a bit exposition heavy and flashback oriented. But some of the things that they did of referring back to and bringing unfinished, like not cliffhangers, but unresolved stories from previous movies that nobody would have expected them to pull. Fantastic job. Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise said that they have multiple movies that they're going to make together. I cannot wait for what those could be.
I haven't gotten into the franchise yet. I thought about it the other day. I think majority of them are on Hulu, or at least like the first 3 are on Hulu. And so I was very tempted to start, but I think that's a rabbit hole that I can't get into quite yet. I'm still with Community and everything. So.
Yeah.
But it is on my list to eventually get down that rabbit hole, and eventually when we do that, we'll probably have a Mission Impossible ranking on here.
Hopefully. I guess the next thing to talk about would be would this be the first movie that we have all seen together since this summer? No, we saw Thunderbolts. So the first movie since Thunderbolts we all saw together. Kicking off, really, summer blockbuster. We saw Ballerina, the new John Wick spin-off story, starring Ana de Armas with Norman Reedus, Winston, and I'm blanking on his name. I can't believe Ian McShane returns as Winston. Keanu Reeves returns as John Wick. This movie takes place both during the events of John Wick 3 when he visits the Russian ballet. I haven't watched it in a little while. He's getting his ticket punched because he's messed up at the end of John Wick 2 when he broke Continental rules, and he's going after the high table. And then we get a 2-year time jump after Eve has kind of grown her skills, and we get this storyline of just straight up revenge, which is obviously the theme of the whole franchise. Yeah. I gave it a 4 out of 5. What did you give it, Joey?
I also gave it a 4 out of 5. I think the biggest thing is just like me. It's been a very long time since I've watched all the John Wicks, and so. And, like, the last time I watched a John Wick was John Wick 4 when it came on streaming. So it's been a hot minute. You can go in and not really know and remember everything. You just kind of need to know, like, okay, the Continental, what is that rule?
Right.
What is the rule of the Ruskaruma, or however you say it. And just as long as you know the basics of that stuff, you'll have a blast. It's great.
Yeah, it really is a mix of, like, people who love the franchise. The big worry was, like, will this live up to the John Wick movies? And then everyone else, it's just a good action movie, which I don't think it's going to get a lot of outside viewership just because it's being branded as a John Wick movie.
Yeah, from the world of John Wick Ballerina. So I think that already...
Very entertaining. I mean, out of all the things they've done in 4 movies with Wick, like, how could they possibly come up with more unique things to do? And they still managed to do it. We are getting ice skates and flamethrowers and, like, even the way she fights. It's a different style than John. It's more, I don't want to say guerrilla
more
warfare. It's more improvisational of using her surroundings and her environment, because the whole thing is about how she's constantly going to be a weaker opponent. So she's constantly picking up knives and pots and pans in kitchens and throwing them, or she's doing all sorts of things.
Using the chairs, and I'd agree.
Ian McShane, who I love Winston in the John Wick franchise. He's one of my favorite side characters in like all of movie history. He's a big part of the story. So was Wick and Lance Reddick, which was a big thing. Are they just going to be cash grab cameos? And then what was going to happen when she fought Wick? And everybody was so happy that when she fought John, spoilers, for that time at the end of the movie, she did not win in the slightest. She matched him for maybe 5 seconds and then was quickly overpowered multiple times. And I think that really proves that even though Chad Stahelski did not direct this movie, like his influence was still very much
still very much there. It's still very much alive. I'd agree. I mean, and the best way that I could say it is just like, Ana de Armas won this role by proving she can do this. Right. Like, everyone was, I think initially everyone was like, oh, is this just like a pretty face, and then we're going to see a bunch of like bad stunt double edits that go through, and I
don't think a lot of people knew she was in the most recent James Bond film, and even in that, she has a very good action-packed sequence of doing basically everything that she does in this movie. So anyone who would have gone and like watched that like 10-minute sequence would have been like, oh yeah, like I can totally back behind this.
Yeah. So I overall, I don't really have a whole lot to say about it, just because I think like the story makes sense. It's kind of start and stop from the story. Like there's nothing that's pulled from John Wick's story and that's pulled into this. I mean, like the basics of the world building, but nothing like interferes with anything. Like it is basically it's standalone. Like it is its own thing while being in the John Wick world. And I think they just handled that perfectly.
Yeah, they reference it very nicely with because she goes to like a hotel we haven't seen. She visits a new Continental, and they do the same customs. We everybody loves the iconic scene in John Wick 2 where he goes to the one in Rome, and he goes to get his custom suit, but they're talking in their professional manner, and he's sampling the dinner menu, which is all the different weapons, and she does the same thing, but it's in a different way, where she goes to this like Bass Pro Shop basically, and she's like, I want to go hunting.
You really like that joke the guy said. Can I be Frank?
Yes, the guy who works at the store is wearing a name badge that says Frank, and he says, let me be Frank. And then the camera just sits on him for a good 2 seconds. And I laughed at that. I thought it was a really... I like stupid one-liners.
It was funny because I was sitting next to Brayden, and he said it, and Brayden's laughing. He like chuckled first, and I like at first was like, why is he laughing? And then I looked in the corner, and I was like, oh, that's good.
They just kept the camera for some reason on him, and it was so funny. But like it wasn't a copycat, which I really loved. I think that's the biggest thing, is like you won't feel like this is some sort of random cash grab or something.
Yeah. I think for me, it's really just like, especially if you're a fan, like Mike. He's a big fan of Ana de Armas. Let's get that out of the way. He loves Ana de Armas a lot, and so I originally was like, I don't get like your hype around Ana de Armas. Like, yeah, she's very pretty, like, but like I don't get it. No, after watching this movie, especially the ice club scene.
Oh, yeah.
That was really good.
The scene that everybody sees in the trailer of her, she's got the big fur coat on. She's in, like, the disco club. It's classic John Wick, like, shooting people in the club. When you see that in the movie, it's actually not what you think is happening based on, like, what she has to do. And it's arguably, like, the most creative thing they've ever come up with in the franchise.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to talk about... I'm going to talk about spoilers, even though we already said it. Basically, she has to protect somebody who's in a club. She has to extract them out of this club. And so to prevent casualties or anything, she's only given rubber bullets. Well, if you have rubber bullets, you can shoot somebody multiple times throughout a scene because they're just going to keep getting up after getting knocked down. And so... she's only fighting 3 or 4 people, but she's fighting them in constant waves. And I thought that was incredibly interesting, the way that they did that.
Because wasn't the guys that she was fighting like the main guy was like a politician or something, and they didn't want to kill him.
Yeah, like a mob boss, or it was like the mob boss's
Something
daughter,
like
like a politician's daughter that she had to protect from him. And
Yeah,
so it
and
was
they-
like,
yeah.
if you just give her non-lethal rounds, you can fight
Yeah.
the same enemy without John Wick killing like 35 security guards in
And
a
then
club.
having a
Like,
whole
and you
different
get that
thing
cool
later.
contrast.
Yeah. Overall,
Yeah.
great way to start off Blockbuster.
Mm-hmm.
For me at least, I think I'll definitely watch this again if
Yes.
possible. And I definitely suggest for a lot of people to go see this.
In a day and age of unoriginal sequels and remakes, this is a sequel that is much appreciated.
Yeah, agreed.
Now get into the meat of the meal, I would say.
Meat of the meal.
Joey, would you say this is your most anticipated movie of the year?
Yeah, I would say so. I think I said that in a past episode. I might have to go back and find that. But yeah, How to Train Your Dragon. I mean, I love the original. Okay, it's a 4.5 out of 5. How to Train Your Dragon 2 is a 5 out of 5. How to Train Your Dragon 3: The Lost World, I believe, is a 4 out of 5. Maybe it's a 3. I love this franchise. I was not able to go see it in theaters when I was a kid because I was the only one that really watched it. My brothers didn't watch it. They didn't really care for it. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very, very hyped for this, mainly because I love Toothless so much, and that's pretty much it. So for me, it's a 4 out of 5. Brayden, what do you give it?
I gave it a 4 out of 5. I watched this movie and the second one growing up. I think the second one's a phenomenal movie. I think it's a very adult movie. The first one I think is very good, but like I guess I like it more than I realize because watching this remake, like the amount of times nostalgia hit me so hard in the heart was unprecedented. Like I had never thought that I would be sitting there like feeling the way I did at multiple times. And I think part of that is this is like 90% shot for shot, line for line, the same movie as the original, but that kind of plays in their favor. And the reason is, like, this is, I don't want to say a cult classic, but among animated movies that live on from kid to, like, adulthood, or I would say in the age of the millennials, adulthood. Like, this is one that transcends, where people still love it. The music is iconic still. And when you bring back the original director of the animated and you bring back the original voice actor with Gerald Butler as Stoic and have him reprise his role, and you really take the time to like properly fund the CGI and everything,
make everything right.
It is like I don't want to say I wasn't excited for this movie. I just kept saying like I don't really care enough because it's a remake, but I will go see it with Joey and I'm probably going to like it because I like the original. It was so good.
Yeah, it's so good. The only thing which this is another thing I didn't mention to you last night when we talked about this. The first thing that I did mention to him was there are a few times where the lighting is bad. You can tell when they used a green screen and they weren't on site, and it's mainly towards the end. But you can tell when they used a green screen and they had certain lighting on the character and the lighting just didn't fit. Mm-hmm. It's not bad. It took me out of it because at least I notice that stuff. I know that you do. Mikey sometimes does as well. It's something that we notice because we watch movies so much. And so we kind of nitpick.
Yeah.
That's one thing that, like,
a lot of our problems are just
nitpicks
nitpicks with this movie. I think that's the big thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're all nitpicks, and I can't give it the original because the things they add are unnecessary to add. They just really did it for it being a different time length and them being able to say it's not copy and paste. So the only other thing I thought of was that some of the the relationship building with Toothless and Hiccup, it felt a little rushed. I don't really remember. I didn't watch the original since I think it's been like a year or two, but like it felt a little rushed, and I don't know if that's just like
No, I
me
definitely feel
not
that.
thinking, or if it's because it's in live action. I feel like it should be like a little more, but it felt rushed.
I think they wanted to choose their moments, and like as long as they hit all of the iconic parts of the movie, they felt good about it. Which like, it's still great. I think the big thing was because I thought there's the big part where in the animated movie they go to the nest and they find the big dragon, like the
Yeah.
alpha mother, whatever.
Yeah.
And they're there for a good bit because you have to like build up like this big monster. It's like a 20-second sequence of them like going
Yeah,
in, seeing
it's
it,
not
and getting
long at
out.
all.
And so I thought that was incredibly rushed. I thought I agree with you. It's mostly just towards the end of Act 3 when they're at the nest and they're attacking it. Everything is very grayscale and foggy, so it looks
Yeah.
very weird, and the lighting is off. And there's the shot after they open it, and Stoic is standing in the cave entrance, and like the light is hitting him in a way that doesn't make sense. Like it's illuminating his face, if I remember, which makes no sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that did kind of throw me off. And then I'm trying to think. Like everything else was really, it's just nitpicky for me. Like when they do the test drive sequence in the animation at the very end of the movie, or at the very end of the scene, Toothless like shoots out that fireball. And it's the first time we see him do that in the movie. And then like they fly through it, and then like Hiccup goes back to the village and he's all singed. They don't do that in the movie, and I thought that was a little weird because that's part of a very iconic sequence. I also thought the test drive sequence, being the most iconic part of the franchise, very flat for a. They dragged it out for a good bit. Very flat until the part where he loses his cheat sheet, and then it picks up. But that's so short afterwards.
Yeah, the cheat sheet, I think, like, that is the part that everyone remembers.
Right.
And that's the part they nailed. And I think they knew that, which is fine. But, again, it's us that we're nitpicking. Right. We kind of pick up on stuff like that. It did feel weird. It did fall flat in the beginning, and then it picked itself up. That clip you sent me yesterday where his fireball thing.
Yeah.
It's not in there. It's a nice little added comedy, and it adds to their relationship. It adds to how they interact with each other.
Right.
And so when you sent me that made me think like, oh, their relationship, like you get that their relationship is that good, but like
yeah,
we don't really see a whole lot of it. Like
they really montage it a bit, but they do like the iconicness of like the scene where he first puts his hand on him after he's like going around the maze that Toothless drew and he can't step on lights. Like that was very well done. The part where he's got him distracted and he's putting the tail on him for the first, or the fin on his tail for the first time. All the failed sequences of him crashing when he's trying to figure out how to use like the foot pedal and all of that. That was all done very well. But like some of the little things that they kept were so interesting. I thought it was weird. I'm blanking on his name. I just thought of it. The one guy who's kind of like a bully that Jonah Hill voices in the original Snot something.
Snot Loud. That's not
or sorry, no.
That's not Jonah Hill. Jonah Hill is Fish Legs.
Yes, sorry. That is.
That's Snot Loud.
Yeah, Snot Loud. He has this weird subplot. It's Christopher Mintz from Superbad. He has this weird subplot in the movie where he keeps trying to like impress his dad, and his dad is just like not listening to him the whole time.
Yeah.
But it's like it just felt weird because they kept pushing it, but that's already the plot line we have with Hiccup and Stoic, so it's just an added thing for no reason. Because it really felt forced. I thought Nick Frost as Gobber was really funny.
It was funny, but I also.
He was he was a bigger part of the original than he was in this movie, I felt like. Like, I felt like he wasn't present on screen a lot in the live action.
He wasn't as present, but, I mean, his role is kind of the same.
Right.
So, but, yeah, I get what you're saying.
I thought all of when they do the training montage, all of that stuff was so well done. I thought they nailed all of that perfectly. And then the opening sequence, I think the big thing was they have to get Gerald Butler to nail this guy. You just have to make him, like, the most awesome dude. And, like, they kept the scene where he fist fights the dragon and just punches the crap out of him. And it was so awesome 10 minutes into the movie to watch this. The first thing I noticed, though, is the iconic part of the movie when you have the voiceover explaining the island of some people have mosquitoes or whatever we have, and then the dragon grabs the animated sheep. It's a fake sheep in the original, and it's like attached to a trap, and it like threw me off immediately. But then like it sucked me back in because they did the classic opening with the dragon like breathing fire on the door. And so it threw me off for a second, but I was like, why wouldn't they include that? Like, they should know what we're getting into.
Yeah. Yeah. Overall, I mean, people online complained about this movie on how it's a carbon copy. Why does this movie exist? Blah, 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 blah. First off, not a carbon copy. No. One of the things that I said that I just don't like, which is why it's a 4 out of 5 for me, is I enjoy Hiccup and his dialect in the first one a lot. His, like, his nasally voice and his, like, twang that he has with it, it itches my brain. It's not Mason Thames. Not that he did a bad job. He did a great job.
He did very good.
He just was him.
It's just one of those things you have to get over. But, like, that's why I'm so happy they brought back Gerald Butler, because it's the same voice. Like, he sounds older, obviously, but it's the same voice.
Exactly.
Later that night, because we got home, and I was like, oh, it's only like 10:30. I don't care that I have to work tomorrow. It's only 10:30. So I went and watched How to Train Your Dragon 2, because I was like, how badly do I want this movie in live action? And after an hour and 40 minutes later, I was like, I really need this movie in live action. The director and Gerald Butler both said in an interview that got released recently that they are pressuring Cate Blanchett in every possible way to reprise her role as Hiccup's mother in the sequel that's coming out in 2027. And they were, like, basically doing anything from, like, guilting her into it to just, like, straight up begging her to come back.
And we touched on it a bit on the car ride. Like, she looks like the mom. Like, it would work.
Right.
Can't be Cate Blanchett and her blonde hair, but it would still work.
Yeah, but, like, we were talking about, like, that's a character where, like, you could just throw any person in there, but, like, we want Cate Blanchett back to match Stoic coming back, because we thought that would be such an awesome dynamic. We said that Kit Harington could come back as Eric, son of Eric. Because he kind of just looks the same, and that'd be really funny.
And then we talked about the villain of 2.
We said that Jason Momoa should just come back because he kind of is just the same person, and then we somehow ended up going down the Roman Reigns route of bringing him in.
I was going to say, our, like, top 3 is Jason Momoa, Roman Reigns, and who did we say? Like,
Dave Bautista was thrown around, but we didn't know how he would look with hair.
I said Jensen Ackles. You could do with, like, not the dreads, but, like, a longer hairpiece.
Right.
And I think it could work.
I do love the original voice actor. I don't know how to pronounce his name, so I'm not going to try. You know him from things like Guardians of the Galaxy and Blood Diamond and other things. It's one of those unfortunate things where, like, you animate a character and he just looks nothing like the actor. Yeah. Like, he physically is nothing like the actor. Now, if he played that guy, I wouldn't be upset.
No, I wouldn't be upset either.
It would just look weird because of, like, how incredibly wide this animated character. He is, like, stoic Roblox build wide.
Oh yeah.
And it would just look very, very strange.
Yeah. So I'm definitely on board for the second one.
Yes.
I'm 100% with it. I'm down. Other than that, I got nothing else for How to Train Your Dragon. You got anything else?
No. Like we said, it was mostly just, like, stupid little nitpicking stuff that we were really like, everything. The CGI looks great because I was expecting some, like, Jurassic World stuff where it's like it's a dinosaur but it's a fake dinosaur. Like, it looks so much more real than those movies. And I think that was a big thing. The on-site stuff was beautiful. You can tell when they were, like, traversing mountains and stuff. It was so cool.
There was one, like, aerial shot of Hiccup walking around the island trying to find Toothless, and I was like, oh wow, like, this is beautiful. And I was like, you 100% know they are at location. Like, this is not the volume or anything like that. But yeah, overall, go see it if you can. Go to the movie theater. Go watch this. I had an amazing experience watching Test Drive. I may or may not have shed a tear just for nostalgia because, you know, hearing Test Drive in the theater with an amazing visual and amazing sound with it, beautiful. So, highly suggest go watch it.
Not everyone loved it, though. Right during Hiccup's death scene, when no music or sound was playing, or alleged death scene, where I just realized, like, Toothless is such a jerk for hiding Hiccup that whole time.
He's a
like,
diva.
Stoic is sitting there like crying, and he waits for Astrid to come up 2 minutes later, and he's just like, "Oh yeah, your boy's still alive under here."
Yeah, during that, it's like silent.
Somebody at the end of our row just hurls into their popcorn bucket.
Oh, that was...
And immediately afterwards, like, everyone's trying not to laugh because obviously it's embarrassing. And then you get like that whiff of that, and I was like, oh god. And like I'm still trying to stay in the moment, but
yeah.
It's 5 minutes to the end of the movie.
Yeah, it was funny, but overall, very great. Go watch. But those are all the summer blockbusters we have watched thus far, or at least movies that kind of lead up to summer blockbuster. So let's kind of get into blockbusters and like what we got coming out in the summer. I know later this week, Elio, the new Pixar movie, comes out. I don't think we're gonna go see it in theater. I might with my brothers, but I don't know if I'm really going to. But the big three, the like closest thing that I would say is to Barbenheimer. It's not Barbenheimer really, but it's the closest thing. Is Super Fantastic Man, which is or Super Fantastic Park. So Superman, Fantastic Four, and then Jurassic World Rebirth are all coming out within what, 3 weeks
of each other?
Yeah. So we've had 2 Superman trailers, or 3 maybe?
We've had 3 because that third one came out of nowhere.
Yeah, that was like, what, a week ago or something?
Something like that.
For Fantastic Four, we've basically had 2, which is pretty much the standard for Marvel. I don't think we'll get anything. We'll probably be seeing more from TV spots and ads, and that'll be it.
We got some new TV spots. We got a Little Caesars ad recently that showed the iconic villain Giganto, which is horrendously CGI'd, but it's really interesting to see that they did that, and it makes me wonder like, what could possibly come out of this movie that we didn't expect? Because I already think there's all sorts of things that nobody could have predicted.
Yeah. And then there was a new trailer, I believe, for Jurassic World Rebirth, like maybe 2 weeks ago.
That just came out, and I refuse to watch it because apparently it's just like an entire scene that they posted online.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I probably won't, just because like the first one kind of hooked me already. I don't need to see anything else. I know that we're gonna at least you and I are definitely gonna go see these 3 in theaters. Mikey probably will.
He's gonna go see the superheroes with us. I don't know about Jurassic World.
Well, we know Superman because we got lucky.
We have some breaking news. Through wit, charm, and pure skill, the 3 of us, myself, Joey, and Mikey, will be attending an early access premiere in IMAX for the Superman movie.
Heck yeah.
We will be posting a video of our review immediately after we watch it. We're going to go home, record, and then put it up as fast as possible. I've had the thumbnail made weeks in advance.
I was going to say, it's been like a month.
We have been preparing for this because we didn't know if we were going to be able to get tickets, how far we'd be able to drive, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
We obtained them about a week ago, so it comes out July 11th, I believe July 8th, which is a Tuesday. It's the Tuesday before it comes out.
Yeah.
We will be seeing it in IMAX. Early access is a very small IMAX theater that we're seeing it in. It's like, I think 30 total tickets for it or something. This is not obviously exclusive to us. This was a nationwide thing for Amazon Prime members. But yeah, we will be getting to see it early. We might go see it more than once, depending on how good it is. But you will definitely see our immediate first thoughts on YouTube.
I will definitely say this: the first one, we're 100% going for it. I would probably see it a second time. I know I'm definitely going to be seeing it a second time with my dad and family. My dad's a big superhero guy, or Superman guy, excuse me. He's a little hesitant on this movie after some trailers, but I mean everyone kind of is, especially us after the most recent one. Which let's kind of get into that now. Like that trailer
The first trailer, I was kind of whatever. It's not a story trailer. It's just random shots of Superman.
Yeah, it's a hype
I was like,
trailer.
oh, it looks cool. It's colorful. It was basically, whether Gunn likes to admit it or not, it was basically a I've killed the Snyderverse trailer because it looks nothing like it.
Yeah.
In the second one, we get our story trailer, and like, I'm still hesitant because I know what kind of man James Gunn is. But I'm basically fully bought in on that second trailer. I was like, this looks awesome.
Yeah,
That's the trailer I'm seeing in theaters. I'm seeing that 5-minute segment that they released online in theaters, and I'm like, this is amazing. I'm so excited. And then that third trailer comes out of nowhere. Like, it dropped while I was at work, and I saw it on my lunch, and I'm like, where are people getting these Instagram clips from? And then I saw there was a trailer, and the trailer just flips everything on its head. I have no idea what the story is now. It doesn't make sense. They're bringing in pocket dimensions and like all sorts of things that I'm looking at this and why does Lois Lane know how to fly Mr. Terrific's ship? And is pocket dimensions really the best way to start the new universe for a Superman movie? And there's just a billion things going on seemingly. And then he was like, yeah, this is a short movie too. It's like just over 2 hours.
Yeah. The thing that we discussed was that the last DC EU movie was The Flash. Or was it
that? Technically, it was Aquaman 2, I think. But The Flash would have been right in front of it.
Yeah. The Flash, I don't want to say it's a terrible movie. It's a bad movie.
It's not
There's
good.
some good things in it, but it's not great.
Right.
And one of the biggest arguments that a lot of fans had, and I know that we had, was the animation.
The CGI of The Flash is very bad. And
the director came out and goes, that's on purpose. You're a superhero movie. That shouldn't be on purpose.
Not only that, James Gunn came out beforehand and was like, this is one of the best superhero movies ever made.
Yeah.
And he
Insane.
Put all of his chips on this, and it made no sense once we saw it. And then he went and hired that CGI team for Superman, and you can very clearly see that in that clip of the trailer where he's punching the guy in the face and the teeth bounce off the camera lens. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a cool shot, but like, there's a lot of people who are as deep in on Gunn as the Snyder fans were on Snyder, and they're like very blind to the fact that that shot does not look good. The CGI on that shot is bad. Am I out on the movie? No, but I'm saying you got these guys who notoriously did a bad job doing CGI on this Flash movie, and you got them to do the entirety of your first project. That's not a good idea.
Yeah.
And so, like, that just raises some questions along with, like, some of the story things where it's like, it's genuine concerns that we have. Like, I don't think we're reaching on anything crazy. It's not like I'm sitting here going, like, oh, Superman's costume is too blue. I don't like that. Like, it's genuine concerns about the content of the movie.
Yeah, like what's going to be coming from the movie itself.
Right. Like, do I think it's going to be too comedic and all sorts of things? Like, it's genuine worries that people can have, which unfortunately the people who express those on the internet that I see are getting flamed for it, which is hilarious because they're just turning into the Snyder fans and their own side of the spectrum. Yeah. And the movie hasn't even come out yet. They don't have anything to back themselves up on, which is the crazy part.
Exactly. And the biggest thing is that I don't think it's bad for us to have worries. I think it's a good thing that we have worries because we care about it that much. We care that this movie does really well because we want to see it succeed.
I would love to see a successful DC universe, but like that means I can have concerns about the first thing you put out.
Yeah. James Gunn came out, what was it, like 2 or 3 days ago, and said something on like Iron Man's success was not MCU
the MCU
didn't
not
depend
on Iron Man's success. But and then I looked at Joey and I said, but they didn't try and start the MCU with the X-Men movies or with the Blade movies or with Ben Affleck's Daredevil, or they didn't try and start with those. They tried to start with Iron Man, and that succeeded.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing also to it is that although there was X-Men and Daredevil, those movies were regarded as good superhero movies. People regarded X-Men First Class before Iron Man came out that it was one of the best things ever. Like, and you had the Spider-Man trilogy before that. Like, all of that stuff was still good stuff. In this Superman, for this stuff,
there's a lot.
Man of Steel, people hate it. Batman vs. Superman, people hate it. The Flash, people hated it. Wonder Woman, people loved it. Wonder Woman 1984, people hated it. It was a failed franchise, and it failed.
DC
Marvel
They tried to do that. They initially tried to use the Dark Knight trilogy as a launching off point, and then that just got scrapped. But like that was the whole point. Is like they had tried and failed, and like I think even the highs of the Snyderverse, like there are some really good things about that universe in some of those movies, but like the lows are just astronomically low.
Yeah.
That it's like almost unforgivable to the point where it's like you do have a lot riding on this, because when Marvel came out with Iron Man, they didn't give us the 10-year plan that James Gunn did before he put out Creatures Commandos. Like Kevin Feige didn't sit down and make a YouTube video detailing everything that was going to be made. Yeah. Which James Gunn has just canceled one of his movies from that video. We don't know which one it is. We believe it to be the Authority movie. We hope it to be the Authority movie, because he has said that the Waller TV show is still happening.
And everything else we've basically heard some type of news for.
Yeah, the only other thing it could be is the Swamp Thing, but I don't think they ever had a script for that, because his reasoning for canceling said movie was the script was bad. He just straight up said the script was not good. Yeah. We're not making this movie. And so I think it was the Authority movie, which that would have been a very confusing thing to bring in right at the beginning.
Agreed. The only other thing that I have for Superman is just like, I think that it's gonna really base itself on, is it good? Like,
right.
There a lot of things for superhero, at least, is the nerds go in first. The nerds are the guys and gals that go in on that first week and watch it and give their reviews. And if those people come out of it saying that was good, that was good, that is Superman, that was a good movie, then you'll have the casual audience skyrocket. They'll go into the theater. The nerds will continue to go see the movie because people like to see it 2 or 3 times, and it will hit that billion mark. If it's enough for 1 or 2 people to just go, it was fine, it's gonna have problems.
I think the big thing is, I think everybody's gonna come out of this going like, Corn Sweat was a good Superman. Rachel was a great Lois Lane. Like, Nathan Fillion's great as Guy Gardner. We love Isabella Merced as Hawkgirl. Like, I think everyone is going to love the characters and the actors portraying them. Like, I genuinely do think James has nailed all of the castings. And all of the characters are going to be I think they're going to be presented so well, and people are going to love that. It's just genuinely, is the story just confusing as heck?
Yeah. Is it too much?
Mm-hmm. Is it too much for a starting point?
Yeah.
And then allegedly reports are coming out that you saw something that said it was the most expensive movie ever made, which beats out The Force Awakens at like a $450 million budget or something.
Yeah,
there's
it's
new
like
reports that say it's lower.
So
nobody really knows, because they spent so much on budgeting. They spent a ton of money on budgeting.
It depends on where you come from, because some people give it the, oh, well, it was made, it had like $400 million, and that's just the making of the movie. Right. The one that I found was the making of the movie, everything from pre-production to post-production, everything in that, and then also the marketing stuff.
Yeah.
So the ads, the toys, all of that smushed into one. How much does it cost? And it was the most out of a movie of this magnitude, which I believe was Force Awakens before that. And I think it was like 540 million, something around that ballpark.
That was the number being thrown around, which that means, if that is true, in order for this movie to profit, it has to clear $1 billion. Easy. Yeah. I don't know if it can do that, because I think the problem is, A, we live in a world that is currently in superhero fatigue.
Yeah.
And B, the DCU screwed up so badly that can people trust them again? Because it's a lot easier to get people to buy into Marvel, I feel like, because they're consistently putting stuff out that you will just hit the peaks of good and draw everybody back in, or you will put out a Spider-Man movie and then everyone will go back and watch it because it's Spider-Man. Is Superman a good enough name to get people to come back after Man of Steel, into Batman vs. Superman, into Justice League, and then all of the failed cameos he made in end credits of the Shazam and the Black Adam.
The only thing I'll say is that, and I think that this is a part of the marketing, when you had Man of Steel, you had, I mean, not that the target audience is an older generation, but the older demographic, the older generation, was more focused on what the title of it was. And when you look at it and say, oh, it's Man of Steel, people are like, what? Like, Man of Steel could be a movie about a
movie or something.
Yeah, like it could be exactly. So like, I think for this case, I think it does definitely help that the title is called
It's just Superman.
You know exactly what you're getting. You are getting Superman, the hero from Krypton that is raised on a farm by Ma and Pa Kent. His name is Clark Kent. He falls in love with Lois Lane.
Blue suit, red cape, laser eyes, like the whole ordeal.
Red trunks, exactly. Like it's enough,
I think the other thing is, it's classic enough that, like, you've seen the TV spots at this point. It is, like, basically the modernization of Christopher Reeve's suit. So, like, you have the, I don't want to say old heads, but, like, anyone who has ever seen any iteration of Superman in a comic or a TV show or a cartoon,
they're going to understand.
The people who grew up with Smallville or whatever, like, you have seen this and you're like, that looks like Superman.
Yep. Yeah. Overall, I'm excited.
I'm
very excited we get to go see it early.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I need to find, like, a Superman t-shirt or something to wear. I don't own one. We should go shopping. Other movies that have come out recently we didn't get to see: Wes Anderson's Phoenician Scheme, A24 and Tim Robinson's Friendship, and then The Life of Chuck, the new Mike Flanagan Stephen King movie. The problem is we live near a theater that doesn't want to play anything unless it's like a guaranteed hit or like a big franchise piece or something.
There are only 9 theaters. I'll give it that.
Yeah. However, like usually it works is we have a smaller one near us that's in a mall, and then there's a bigger one if we want to drive to Pennsylvania half an hour away, and that shows more stuff. For example, Joey has kind of talked me into going to see Materialist, the new A24 movie.
Heck yeah!
But we can't see it unless we go to Hanover.
Yeah.
Same thing with the new Western movie out called The Unholy Trinity. We have to go to Hanover, and I don't have a problem with that. But the problem is Hanover is not showing The Life of Chuck or an A24 movie like Friendship, and or The Phoenician Scheme, a Wes Anderson movie, and like these are like big studios or big names, and it's like, really, like a large independent theater that owns the entirety of its property is not showing that.
Yeah.
And it kind of confused me. So like we're missing out on movies that are getting great reviews. So if you live near a Regal or an AMC, I would suggest going to see those. People are loving them. You talked about what's coming up tomorrow, June 19th, as we're recording this. 28 years later, is coming out. It currently is debuted at a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. We need to see the original.
96.
Maybe it has dropped. It originally started as 100, but even 96. We need to see the original so we can go see this movie because it's very intriguing. I wouldn't be surprised if. I mean, don't be fooled by the shot on IMAX or shot on iPhone thing because they're attaching giant macro camera lenses to these iPhones and building massive rigs that have 20 different iPhones on them. But it still looks amazing, and I'm very intrigued. Next week, my most anticipated movie of the year, Brad Pitt's F1.
Oh, God. I forgot about that.
Joey asked the question.
We're gonna need to go see that.
Joey asked me the question, what will Brad Pitt be eating in this movie? And we started putting bets on it. I said a banana because he's going to be trying to eat something healthy outside of like a dinner scene that we see because he's a race car driver. Joey, you said like a granola bar, or like you said like a Slim Jim, and I said that might happen just because the amount of sponsorships that are going into this movie.
Or maybe it's not exactly a Slim Jim, but like a meat stick.
Yeah, like a meat stick or like
something that he can just like.
There's going to be like a granola bar or something. We were just trying to think of like little things. Like it's not going to be Ocean's 11 where he's sitting and just like holding a shrimp cocktail in his hand and like, which is one of the funniest things in that movie. But
the one thing I think for like the dinner scene or something that I could see is like him like pulling apart bread and just like.
Yeah, doing that.
Like a Hawaiian roll.
He's not going to be, like, eating Chinese takeout.
Like, it's not going to be, like, steak, like him, like, cutting. Like, right. I don't think it's got to be something he's got to use his hands for. Because he loves
so he can act with his hands.
Yeah.
So he's either going to be, like, he's going to have a bread roll in his hand. Or, like, we're going to see him walking around with, like, a burrito or, like, a hoagie or something.
I could see him having, like, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich at some point. Mm-hmm. Something like that. So overall, I mean, Brad Pitt's going to be eating something, drinking something in this movie. And I think that's just us being fan guy or movie guys that are like, oh, what's Brad Pitt going to eat this time? But we are very excited for this movie overall.
The reviews have come out for it. Places like IGN and other review sites are saying it's like a 7 out of 10 movie. They're saying it's good, but don't expect anything outside of the story, which I just can't believe based on the director's past work, Brad Pitt, the other crew that we have in. Like, I can't believe that this is truly just like an F1 generic cash grab movie.
Yeah,
like, I do think the story will be crazy? No. Interesting enough to be great? Yes. And it's going to be so incredibly well shot and paced and everything that, like, I won't need to care enough.
Yeah. I agree.
I think there's not a lot else happening right now other than us just trying to go see stuff. I think the other thing is when people saw the second Fantastic Four trailer come out, it had the reworked VFX of the Silver Surfer, and it looks so much better.
It does look a lot better. It does. I mean, I don't really have anything else to say for Fantastic Four. The biggest thing that I can say is just like...
the biggest thing was we saw that Franklin Richards is already born in this movie. She is not pregnant for the entirety of the movie, so there's obviously going to be some sort of time jump. For those of you who don't know, in the Marvel Universe, Franklin Richards, the child of Mr. Fantastic and Sue Storm, Invisible Woman, is legitimately one of the most powerful characters ever created by Marvel. He is essentially as powerful as Celestials and, like, the old gods that they always bring in. He becomes the Herald of Galactus multiple times. Galactus dies in one of the stories, and Franklin becomes Galactus. He is incredibly powerful. And so I do now believe that we've seen that this is going to somehow tie into Doom and Secret Wars, is that somehow he's going to tie in. Franklin's going to tie in, and then maybe in Secret Wars we'll see, like, a kid who's at, like, 12, and he is Franklin Richards, and we've seen this aged-up version of this alternate reality. And maybe we get future foundation of, like, him and Valeria and some other stuff. I'm so excited. It looks... Kevin Feige said they're going to embrace the goofiness that the original movies didn't ever want to do. Like, we hear Joseph Quinn, even though it's Joseph Quinn, telling Ben Grimm, is it clobbering time, in the new trailer. And it's like, that's what we want out of this.
I agree. The only thing that I say is that there's supposed to only be one Galactus in all of multiverses. There's only one. It's just this Galactus. So, the fact that he's, like, our main villain, quote-unquote, at least right now, according to trailers and reports and whatever, my question is, he can't lose. I mean, well, he could theoretically lose. He can't die.
In a sense, he can't die. There's an entire, I believe it's when we first meet the Council of Reeds in the comics, which is the Council of Reed Richards across the multiverse. The main one, who we'll just say is Pedro Pascal in this scenario, basically goes to them and explains that Galactus is a universal constant, where, like, there is an instance where he is destroyed in the comics, but he just comes back because... He's a universal necessity. He's a part of the balance of the universe. Like, as planets and stars are created, there needs to be something to destroy them, and that is Galactus. And so I don't think he's going to die, because I think he's going to somehow be involved in Secret Wars, because he is in both of the comics. But also, there's plenty of ways he is defeated in a battle of wits by Reed, where Reed will invent something and then gain his respect, or he will find a new planet suitable for him to consume. I don't know how they deal with him in the Rise of Silver Surfer movie. I never actually watched that one, but he's also, like, he's just a cloud in that movie.
Either way, I don't really have a whole lot more to say about Fantastic Four. Am I excited? Yes.
I'm very interested.
Skeptic? I am very skeptic. But I think the biggest thing is just, we know that the four are not going to die. Because they're in Avengers Doomsday. I can pretty much guarantee that Franklin Richards isn't going to die, because the next phase. He's going to be the next generation.
Probably.
So, unless they're really going hard into this soft reboot they're planning, but I mean, the soft reboot has basically been planned already for after Secret Wars.
Marvel just announced a new movie to release in December of 2028.
Yeah, I saw that.
Who knows what the heck that could be? Like, there's no point in guessing. We keep seeing new news for Spider-Man Brand New Day. It officially started pre-production today. Or production. What was it, production?
I think it was production. Pre-production, I think, started like a month or two ago.
Yeah, and so it was like, but we just keep seeing all this stuff, and it's very conflicting. It's like all these characters, and it's like, oh, you thought this was the villain, now this guy's the villain, and so there's a lot of stuff getting thrown around, and so there's nothing.
I saw another thing that the Asian character that they were casting for is apparently not Mr. Negative, but it's Silver Samurai.
Yes, which if anyone has seen The Wolverine, the James Mangold one where he goes to Japan, the guy he fights at the end in the big mechanoid suit was their interpretation of Silver Samurai. In the comics, he's literally just a guy in a Silver Samurai suit who has like enhanced power. He is like enhanced capabilities, but like I don't know why he would be a part of that. I thought Mr. Negative was a much better fit.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Mr. Negative is a much better fit for the MCU current and also Spider-Man in general.
Because there's all sorts of things you can bring in with him. Because now there's reports that Shang-Chi's going to be in this movie. We've seen reports that Mark Ruffalo is coming back to be Hulk in this movie, which we might see the storyline in the comics where Peter makes everyone forget who he is, but Hulk remembers because Bruce Banner was around when the spell was cast. And so
not Hulk.
That might not Hulk. And so we might see something like that. But like, there's not a lot to talk about right now because everything is coming out. So there's nothing to look forward to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and everything that they're doing is in production.
Yes.
And not having a whole lot of news towards it. There's no trailers because they're still in production. Like, the only thing that we can say is like, all right, Spider-Man began production because now Tom Holland is available because he was filming the Odyssey, and the Odyssey is they're done with their initial production.
Right.
They're in post-production, but they'll probably go back to doing some reshoots at some point.
Which Christopher Nolan does not do a ton of. So
no, he doesn't.
Hopefully that doesn't halt Spider-Man's production at all.
No. So at this point, it's more of just we're getting there. Like, we're chugging along. Just get through the summer and like keep going. And I think I think that at least for other movie companies than Disney and specifically Marvel, it's a good thing because more people are going to be willing to go see F1 or Superman or Jurassic World or different things because they're not spending their money on 3 or 4 different Marvel movies a year, and they're like, oh well, I'll go see this or something like that. So I think it's better for A, movie theaters, and B, different movie companies.
Yeah, and I feel like there has been a sudden rise of wanting to go see original products again. I won't say that Ryan Coogler is a household name yet because he's really only known for making Creed movies and making Black Panther. They're both franchise movies. So this, aside from Fruitvale Station, which is kind of a smaller movie, I do want to see it. But this was his first major attempt at an original project with Sinners, and it's the highest-grossing horror movie ever made by a lot. It's
the highest-grossing original concept movie in ever, I think.
God knows how long. It's almost one of the highest-rated R movies of all time. And it was a fantastic movie. I said earlier that
so good.
When this movie came out, I put in a pre-order immediately for the Steelbook. I saw it twice in theaters, back-to-back days. And so I've been waiting for months. Good. The movie doesn't come out on digital for another month, and I've had it pre-ordered for past 2 months. But you have stuff like F1, where this is like, it's based off of a sport, but it's an original concept. You have 28 Days Later, which isn't it's a part of a franchise, but like it's such a drawn-out franchise, you can't even say that because it's not directly connected to the other two, other than the main conflict. You have. Like I said, there's Life of Chuck, there's Materialist, there's like A24 is stepping up their game as of late. You have like Nick Cage back into the game with The Surfer. And like even the things that are sequels, like Top Gun Maverick kind of showed like you can go and make a sequel if you give it time and don't try and make it a cash grab. I won't say that's not what The Accountant 2 was, but I felt like both Jon Bernthal and Ben Affleck like really had a lot of love for those characters they played, and were so happy to come back and reprise that role.
I'd agree.
I'm trying to think of other things that have come out. You have the Warfare movie, which, like, yeah, it's another action movie, but it's such an original take on it. You have a different A24 making a war movie, which was like Civil War wasn't really like that. That's a different style of movie.
Right. Yeah, that was like a drama.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You have,
this was a straight up war movie.
Right. You have like Jack Quaid with like all of his movies that are coming out. You have
Novocaine, Companion.
Right. You had Mickey 17, which me and Mikey don't love, but like it's another original concept from someone who is kind of a household name. And so I feel like the rise of originality is back in theaters, and people are willing to go see that.
Yeah.
Which is great.
I also think TikTok is another reason, or maybe not just TikTok, but social media in general. Like, the thing for me was TikTok. Like, when Sinners came out, I was seeing not only from you, like you had rave reviews from it, and you were like, go see it if you can.
Yes.
But like I saw so many things on Instagram and TikTok of people like praising this movie, and I was like, oh, like this must be really good. I think so. I was like, all right, let's give it a shot. And it's my number one movie of 2025.
It is my number one movie. It probably will be the number one movie for the rest of the year. I can't think of anything that'll beat it. Because
the only thing I could maybe give it is like maybe F1, but I don't even know.
Well, we both gave it 5 stars, and I don't see F1 hitting 5 stars.
No, I don't see anything else hitting 5 stars this year for me.
No, unless some like sneaker pick at the end of the year comes in, like how Iron Claw was like, we saw that at the end of the year and it just came out of nowhere, and we were like, what a phenomenal movie. But
we were like, oh my god.
Like if you go and watch the trailer for Sinners, like the first trailer,
was it raining in there?
I'm gonna say it was raining on all of our faces. It like the first Sinners trailer, it doesn't really make sense if you watch it. Like it's just kind of
I didn't even watch a trailer.
The first trailer does not really make sense. It's just Michael B. Jordan, and then there's like some jazz and like just random shots of the movie. And then the second one's the story trailer, but like they hide what the actual story is for the betterment of the audience when they go and see it. So I've seen both these trailers, and I'm like, what the heck is this movie about? Like I don't understand it, other than Michael B. Jordan as 2 people. And so I see it the Saturday of opening weekend because like all the reviews are fantastic. And I'm like, there's no way it's that good. I don't have anything against Ryan Coogler or anything. Like I think they're great. There's no way it's that good.
It's this good. Yeah.
I go and see it. I think I'm getting sick. Like, so I leave. I miss like 10 minutes right in the middle, which is actually a really good 10-minute sequence. And then I come back and I'm like, this movie blew my mind. And I immediately raved about it to Joey, and I said, well, I want to know what I missed. And since I have the Regal Pass, I went the next day, Easter Sunday, and I watched it again after my parents had left that night. And I was like, this movie is so good, because I knew I had to see it more than once anyway. Like, I had to digest it.
And that 10-minute scene you missed is an amazing
great scene.
10-minute scene.
And it was just like something you have to watch more than once to like properly like digest
understand
it and like like not take it for granted, like certain parts. And I was just so blown away. And you were on spring break, and I was raving to you. I was like, Joe, you have to go see this, blah blah blah. I was like, it's a perfect movie. That immediately after the second time I've seen it, like, and that was the other thing. Like, I walked out of it going, that might be a perfect movie, but I need to see it again, and I didn't see all of it. And I was like, yeah, that's a perfect movie immediately. And I think the first thing I said was, when we watch, I love watching Letterboxd interviews with what are your 4 favorites with young and old actors and directors. Yeah. And there is always those set movies that always make their way into someone's, where it's, this is a movie that got me, that I saw when I was younger, that wanted me to get into the business, whether it's acting or directing. Yeah. And I said, when we are older, and we are watching the next generation of actors, this will be a movie they watch and say, I watched Sinners in theaters, and this made me want to get into the movie business. Yeah. Or music. Or the music business, yeah. Or, like, it's so inspirational for both of those aspects. But, like, this is one of those movies that, like, people will talk about as something that got them into it.
I don't know if I ever talked about the experience I had with going for Sinners, so... like you said, I was on my spring break, and you were telling me I need to go watch it. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have time when I'm on spring break, because, like,
Because the thing I kept saying was, it's
things.
so good, but you need to see it in theaters because you can't watch it on your phone. Like, you need surround sound and a big screen. Like, you have to have that experience.
Yeah, and so I was like, all right, let me see what I can do. And the day that I was going back, I was driving back. It was just me, and I was like, do I just stop at the movie theater right now and go watch this? And I was hesitant because I needed to get back to my dorm, like unpack, eat dinner or whatever.
Right.
I was like, you know what? Screw it. When am I ever gonna do this? Like, who cares? Go to Morgantown, go to the AMC, buy a ticket for Sinners, go in, sit down, and wow, I was blown away. And I just remember driving back.
Well,
and then immediately
first of all,
getting on my phone.
You texted me, wow, that was so good, and I called you because I wanted to talk about it.
Oh,
and
that's
you were
right.
sitting, you were sitting in the theater, and the movie hadn't ended yet. There was still like a 10-minute sequence that they hid
there was still like
in the mid credits, and I was like, no, hang up, I'll talk to you about it later.
yeah, that was great. And I mean, just wow. If you did not get to see Sinners in theaters, I'm sorry. I 100% guarantee you that will most likely be back in theaters in 20 years or something.
It's on digital right now, so if you are willing to pay what is basically a ticket price at this point to rent it on Amazon Prime or something that's offering it, cannot suggest it enough. It's one of those movies where it's experimental and you just have to sit there and you need to buy into it first and foremost. But if you are willing to do that and get a little experimental, you're gonna love it.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's a little too much off of Blockbuster, but the only other thing that we have that's like big coming up in the summer is Jurassic World Rebirth. It's dinosaurs. People will watch it. I know we'll go watch it because we like the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World franchises. I wouldn't say we love them, but we definitely enjoy them.
I like dinosaurs.
Yeah, and so I think this is good enough for me. Jonathan Bailey and Scarlett Johansson. It's good enough for me. Mm-hmm. Count me in. Also, the fact that they said that their main dinosaur is a crossover between a Rancor, a Xenomorph, and a T-Rex.
Yep.
Count me in.
It looks awesome.
That's all I need. I haven't seen an actual shot of it yet.
Don't watch the new trailer, man.
I was going to say, I heard that it's in the new trailer.
You fully see what it looks like. I did get that part spoiled, but that is one of a couple, purely crossed up. There's a couple new other dinosaurs that are, genetically modified and dominant style.
There's, a Velociraptor.
There's something like that, and then there's one of the flying things is also, crossbred, genetically enhanced, and, they're just dinosaurs. They look cool. They're gonna.
And there's the river scene from the original book that they're bringing in. So good enough for me. I'm in. Cash in. Done.
Take my money.
But yeah, other than that, you got any other movies?
No.
That you want to talk about real quick?
We talked about. I haven't seen anything in a hot minute. Like we both said, we've just been watching TV, and that kind of takes up our movie time because you can watch a 2-hour movie, or you can get through 4 episodes of a show that you've been enjoying. And then we kind of talked about all the big stuff that's coming out as of late. If there's anything that's getting good reviews and we can go see it, obviously we'll go take the opportunity. But
yeah. So if there's a movie that you guys want us to hopefully go and watch at some point. Like Unholy Trinity or Materialists, and give a review on here. We'll definitely we'll try and get that in if that's what's said. But hopefully next time you guys see us, we'll have Mikey with us, of course, and everything else. But other than that, that's all we got. Brayden, unless you have anything else.
Nope.
Cool. Well, that is going to do it all for us, guys and gals. Thank you very much for staying tuned with us. Make sure to stay tuned on TikTok, Instagram, and then also check us out on Letterboxd on our tags on there. Keep up with everything we are watching, making sure to stay up with what's new with us. But other than that, thank you all very much, and stay tuned.